Hi there, David Youngren here. I wanted to tell you a little bit about my new book. I'm very excited about it because it just came out today, so I have been waiting to share this with you. And I thought I would just tell you a little bit about the book so that you have a better idea why I think it's a good read for you. The book is called Awakening to I Am Love, How Finding Your True Self Transforms Your Well-Being Relationships and What You Do. This book is about you, who you are, and how you can awaken to your true self so that you can live a happy, fulfilled, and purposeful life. And in the book, I share a number of different things. In fact, it's the longest book I've ever written, and I think you will see that there's a lot of things in there that's going to cause you to think about spirituality, about your own life, about the world, about how you can be happy and fulfilled in your life. There are three reasons why I wrote the book. Three reasons. When I started the book and started writing this last year, I wanted, first of all, because this is part of my mission in life, I wanted to present a transformational path for people to make the world a better place. I think all of us want to see a better world, right? And so that was a huge part of why I do anything. And then secondly, and I wanted to actually introduce a less tribal and more inclusive spirituality. I think in the day and age that we're living in, there is this us versus them, you in or out kind of theology or religious concepts that are so divisive and so polarizing, and it's not making the world a better place. In fact, I think it's anti-God, to be honest with you. So I wanted to introduce a new way of seeing spirituality that is actually very transformative, that will help us and become less tribal and more embracive of one another and more inclusive and more loving and caring and compassionate. And the third reason, which I want to talk a little bit about right now, I wanted to write a book to inspire and guide you to live a happy, fulfilled, and purposeful life. I have had the opportunity to travel around the world. I've done it for many, many, many years. And I worked with a lot of people. And I have discovered that most people, in fact, I can't remember any person that I've ever met that do not struggle with insecurities, with fear, with anxiety, with worry, with stress, with these debilitating emotions, with even addictions. I meet a lot of people who struggle with addictions. I meet people who struggle with depression. And there's a call from whoever I meet. They want to be free. I mean, you want to be free from these toxic thoughts that are bombarding you, that is crippling your life, that is causing all this instability in your life, that is causing you to have this suffering in your mind. You can't get out of your head sometimes, you feel like. And so I met so many people like that, and I've been there too. And I think because I've been there and I experienced something that is so different, I wanted to write a book about it, because my story goes back to, I was formerly a Christian pastor and was involved in Christianity quite a bit, and in fact that was part of my life. And then in 2005, I was very upset. I was very successful. I built a successful church, pastor. I was speaking to sometimes as many as 100,000 people around the world. I was on television. I was doing a lot of different things, and seemingly successful, at least in the eyes of the Christian world. But inside I was struggling. I was struggling with guilt, with shame, with fear. I was dealing with self-righteousness. I was bitter. I was angry. People had done me wrong. And I was angry with God. I was angry with a lot of things, a lot of people. And in the midst of it, I started having these cluster headaches to the point where the pain was so severe that I felt like someone was sticking a knife in my eye and twisting the knife around. And I would lay in my bed and literally scream out because I was just in such agony and such pain. By the way, some doctors say that cluster headaches is the worst pain a human can suffer. At least that's what I found on Google. So I don't know if it's true or not, but it was excruciating pain, trust me. And I took painkillers. I went to the doctor. I as a religious person, back then I was very religious, so I prayed and I did everything I knew how to do, but I didn't get any better. I got worse. And so one day in 2006, I felt this inner feeling, this like a gut instinct that I should meditate on divine love. Now you have to understand, meditation to me was a strange word, and now it's a common word that a lot of people are meditating. But back then it was just different. It was not something that most people here, at least in this part of the world, did. So I felt this urge just to meditate on divine love, and I didn't know what that meant, and except that, of course, I was from from the Christian tradition, and Jesus to me personified love. He exemplified what love looks like in a human body, in a human form. I mean, he spoke about love. Love your neighbor as yourself. Do good to those that hate you. I pray for those that spitefully use you. Love your enemies, and all of that. And then, of course, he exemplified love by dying on a cross, which to me was a horrendous death. And so that to me spoke of love. It spoke of unconditional, selfless love. So I began to meditate on this love, and as I did, it was just very brief. Suddenly, I was overwhelmed with this indescribable love. It's like rushing through me. I could feel it. It was like energy flowing through my body. It's weird, I know. But it was like energy flowing through my entire being, and instantly the pain disappeared, and I've never had the pain since. I've never had any cluster headache since. Just incredible what happened to me. And you would think it would make me more religious, but they had the opposite effect. In fact, I became less enamored with my religious tribe, and I was pretty religious, as I said. And I began to think of more. I began to see things from more of a broader perspective, and the next few years after that wasn't the best years. But then, as I began to meditate more and more on this divine love every day, I noticed there was a transformation taking place inside of me. All those toxic emotions that I used to have suddenly just faded away. My health improved. My instincts, my feelings, my thoughts changed. It was just an unbelievable transformation. And at first I didn't know how to put words to it. I didn't even know what was going on. I would go for hikes and walks, and I would just be overwhelmed with this incredible presence of love within me, that I said, how do I put this into words? How do I talk about this? How can I help others? I wasn't even thinking like that in the beginning. But the more I experienced this love, I thought I need to put this into words. And so it's been now almost 14 years since I had my first encounter with this incredible love, or first encounter with being aware of this love within me. And my life is so changed. And so in the last year, I've taken time to just write, put into words what is beyond words. And I don't know if I've done it justice, but I hope so. At least my hope is that this book is going to help and guide you to find your true self and experience this incredible love. As I said, it's not a religious book, but it is a spiritual book. And it's there to help you live in freedom. So I can just give you a little bit about the book, the content of the book, just briefly. The introduction, of course, I share a little bit about my own journey, and I share that with you already, but you can read that story in more details about what it was like before I had my cluster headaches, what led up to it. And then in the first part of the book, I talk about the primary questions of life. So the first chapter is really, it's called The Search for Freedom, but really we raise the question, what is truth? And then in the second chapter, we raise the question, what is love? And that's going to shock most of you, and maybe not, but you know what I'm talking about. And the third chapter, we talk about what is consciousness and stages of consciousness, because we're all conscious. That's what really, we have an awareness. We it's not just that we can think, but we have the ability to observe reality and experience life. I mean, that's what it means to be conscious. We have the ability to observe reality and experience life. And so I basically share in that chapter that there are two ways you can observe reality and experience life. One is through the egoic mindset, which is based on fear, and one is based on the spirit that permeates with love. Now, most of us are not even aware that we are trapped in the egoic mindset because, you know, when you're in it, you don't even know you're in it. But once you're free from it, you begin to realize, oh, there's a whole new way of living, and I share that in that particular chapter. I introduce that in that particular chapter. And then we come to the second section, which is called the false self. The false self is who we think we are, but just because we think we are something doesn't mean that it is so. And we talk about the formation of the ego. You know, the false self craves validation. It craves approval and acceptance. It wants to be loved and accepted from outside sources. The spirit is just aware of love from within, of the presence of love from within. So he doesn't need it from outside sources. The ego needs validation, needs to be superior, needs to be better, needs to be unique, needs to be special. And you get validation from outside sources. So we talk about the formation of the ego. We talk about the illusion of good and evil, which is how most religions are built. And you will find some very interesting things in there. And you begin to wonder, okay, especially if you've been raised in church, if you've been raised in other kind of different religious ideas and expressions, you'll find that, oh wow, maybe this religious thing is actually counter God rather than for God. And when you read that, I think it's going to open maybe your understanding somewhat. At least I hope so. And then we talk about the quest of the ego, and then the myth of failure. Most people have failed. In fact, all of us have failed at some point in our life. But you know what? We are not defined by our failure. So right now, what happened a year ago, what happened 10 minutes ago, what happened an hour ago, what happened 30 years ago is non-existent. The only way it lives on is in your head, in your mind. And so many of us are trapped in our own heads. And if we think about it long enough, it becomes part of our sense of identity. It gets programmed into our subconscious, and we begin to live out who we believe ourselves to be. So if you have been an alcoholic all your life, you've been drinking all your life, and you've been failing in that area, and says, I don't know why I'm doing the same thing over and over again, it's because it's been programmed into your subconscious. But when you awaken to the presence of love within you, your life will be transformed. So I'll talk about that. And then we talk about the awakening. The third section of the book is called The Awakening. And chapter 8 is entitled The Wonder of Who You Are. Oh, you're going to find out something amazing about who you are. And then we talk about the unfolding creation, chapter 9. And in that particular chapter, it's going to give you more of a broader vision of where we're going as humanity. And I kind of lay out a vision there that I know is going to seem strange to some, but I'm putting Christ and evolution, and I'm saying those two concepts are the same, but looking from a different angle. So you will find that quite fascinating, I'm sure. And then we talk about the heart transformation. I've shared much about that over the years, but this will also shed some more depth into what I've been teaching in the past. Then we talk about when faith reveals who you are. I'm not talking about religious faith here. I'm talking about something that is much greater than that. And yeah, you'll find out. In fact, I talk about the faith of Jesus, not from a religious perspective that you know Jesus came to introduce another religion. No, I'm talking about something more powerful than that, and you will find that very intriguing. And then we talk about how meditation helps you awaken. And in the last section of the book, we talk about the manifestation of your true self. What does it mean when you begin to awaken or become aware of this presence of love? How does it transform how you think? And so in chapter 13, we discuss a mindset of love. And I know that's going to be a benefit to you. And then in the last chapter, we talk about a better world. So, as I said, here is a book, Awakening to I Am Love. How finding your true self transforms your well-being, relationships, and what you do. This book is about you and how you can find your true self and live a happy, purposeful, and fulfilled life. So I hope you read it. I hope you share it with your friends. Yeah, and if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.